Pardon me if you catch me looking down in some parts of this. I, of course, have notes because what good writer doesn't have notes? Greetings, Earthlings. I am Cosmic Affinity, and this is Certified Yapper, a cosmic channel. I am so excited to be here today. Shout out to Nadi for the name inspo. Before we get into today's yap, I would like to share a little bit about myself in the case that you're unfamiliar with my work, and then share a bit about why I decided to start this channel since this is the first episode. Cosmic Affinity is a holistic abolitionist organization. I am a multidisciplinary creator and healer with a purpose rooted in liberation from limits. I provide sound alchemy services such as trauma healing performance and courses, writing, as well as transformative consulting for creative development, lifestyle and wellness, and literature, all of which maintain safe spaces for reflective truth, authenticity, and love from start to finish. I started this channel, this conversation, because in my many years of unpaid therapy services, which I didn't include in my rundown, but I did for a lot of years due to starting customer service at a really young age. And in that process, I've been told by people from all walks of life, all different ages, how wise I am and how the words and the energy that I share freely has impacted them in ways that they didn't know that they needed. So it took me some time, but after a while, I recognized that this is something that not only I do, but I am really good at. In my divine timing, I began to understand that my purpose is rooted in how I love with my thoughts, how my energy uplifts, and how my voice and my words impact in a way that creates significant change and support in remembering who you are. That brings us over to the topic of today's yap. I'm so excited about this because I have these conversations with myself all the time. And I'm like, there's a reason for that. And I know that that reason is because it's meant for me to share it. Some of the points that we'll be touching on is soul versus ego versus consciousness, why humans forget and remember, being both divine and mundane, which I think is such an incredible conversation to have, especially because this is something that I give thanks for every single day. Love and creativity as an element of being human, and how those aspects weave together soul, ego, and consciousness. And of course, we have a little bit of a reflection question to get into.
So without further ado, let's get into the first piece of our conversation.
So when I'm watching certain videos and things of that nature, I tap into the quotes that I hear very often. In fact, I used to write down the quotes at the end of Criminal Minds. If you know, you know, that show is fire. And they would have quotes at the end of every single episode. And I had a notebook, like with the back of the notebook full of quotes by the author. And I would look into it. My favorite quote is actually, "All that you see or seem is but a dream within a dream." Edgar Allan Poe. I resonate with that quote a lot, especially because the path my life has been on is indeed cosmic. I heard a quote: "We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience." Originally attributed to French philosopher and mystic Pierre Teilhard de Chardin.
Please, not too much on me if I pronounce that wrong.
Made popular in media by Wayne W. Dyer, which may have been the person that I heard say it. So I wanted to acknowledge that person as well. I think that this is important to bring up in this conversation of why we're here and understanding or creating an expanded meaning of the spiritual experience of being human. It basically unlocks and reminds us of a deep truth. In hearing that quote and then analyzing, what does this mean to me? How do I feel when I hear something like this? What does this change about what I think, about where I am and what I'm doing? When hearing this quote, I'll say it again: we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. I immediately thought of how my understanding of being in this body is that the body is temporary. And the spirit, the soul, consciousness is the constant. The everlasting truth of our consciousness is deep navigational awareness. For me, it essentially triggers the part that always knows and at the same time reminds us that we are made up of the same stuff as the stars in the sky. Oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, carbon. This innate knowing that we have is directly related to our consciousness, to our soul, our spirit, to the part of us that is always aware of the omnipresent essence that exists around us and within us, because it's omnipresent, it's everywhere at all times. And we are minutely aware of this if we're just here existing. And as we grow our consciousness, as we become more aware of ourselves and ourselves in relation to the world, that knowing grows, because the innate truth of who we are is the essence of all of us that knows everything. So we tap in to that all-knowingness within ourselves whenever we remember that we are spirit having a human experience, and this human experience is a temporary one. And I like to break it down a little bit more to understand each aspect in relation to the other, which led me to this. Our soul seems to be connected to our consciousness in a way that is tethered to its innate desire to expand. Consciousness being the all-knowing, the omnipresent, the universe, God, the creator of all things, whatever it is that you call this essence that not only lives within you, but is the reason you are. It's tethered to consciousness, innate want, desire to expand, because it is an ever expanding essence. is omnipresent, so that means it lives in the past, present, future, all that is, was, and ever will be. And if that's not expansion, I don't know what is. Then to add on to that, with this knowing, our soul seems to choose a combination of experiences that has not yet been curated together in that exact form, i.e. you. You are one of a kind. There is nothing and no one that has exactly what you have, that has been through exactly what you has been through, that knows exactly what you know. We are all reflections of one another, and that reflection is a wonderful reminder of our humanness. And when we get to see a reflection of ourselves that reminds us of our innateness, of our omnipresentness, of our connection to the creator of all things that was, is, or ever will be, that opens up a new space for us. And that, I feel, is where our soul resides, where our soul spends a lot of time creating exactly what we go through life to know, to learn, and to give to the consciousness, to the ever-expanding essence that is all, in order to continue to expand. Then it comes into the body, which is a denser form of all. Hence, the incredible functionality of the body. If you don't know how amazing your body is, please go do some research. Figure out how it naturally heals itself. Learn about how its electromagnetic presence contributes to the symbiotic relationship of this landmass, of this earth that we are on. There's so much to know about our bodies, because our bodies are microcosms of this wonderful energy that has contributed to everything that exists. And we find that in the denser experience, our knowing becomes duality, or a duality-based endeavor, as I stated in my notes, where I would add the 3, or the start of something new, becomes 4, or triangle becomes square. The beginning of coming together becomes something that is then tangible, that we can feel, that we can see, touch, hear, that we can use our 5 senses, the main 5 senses that we use here on this planet. The main 5 senses that we use here on Earth. And we then use that to continue to contribute to our soul's purpose, which essentially is creating experiences that are so unique, it expands all. It expands consciousness. It expands the creator's ability to create. Because the creator experiences through each and every living thing especially us, being such significant microcosms of that creator's ability to create. Coming into this denser being, the body, and experiencing this duality-based experience, I ask, well, how do you split knowing into two? And the answer to that becomes a knowing that you can see physically and a knowing that you know is there, but you can't necessarily see. A knowing that you have the ability to pick up and hold, and a knowing that you only know exists because you've experienced it. That's where the duality comes into play. In the case where the soul meets the ego, which is a part of this denser experience, i.e. a part of the duality experience, the soul is in the darkness and the ego is in the light. The darkness meaning the space that you can't necessarily see what's going on, but you know things are there. And the light being the space where you can see things and you can physically touch them and maneuver them. And that is how you navigate. As a denser being, accepting what we know as time to process concepts that can be seen physically, we end up in a space where we're not necessarily forgetting, but we're taking time to remember. Taking time to remember the unseen knowing while processing the seen knowing simultaneously. And this is where the duality is also spiraling and expanding, and we learn as we grow and remember as we grow. Because our remembering is rooted in our knowing. Our knowing is rooted in that space where our soul resides and that space where our ego resides, in the darkness and in the light. The light is a little bit easier for us to see, and as we're in these bodies, because when we see it, we can process, okay, I've seen something like that before. I can put a name to it, or I can put a use to it. And in that same space, we're remembering what it is that our soul knows innately, which is that this entire experience has been curated. And the more that you remember that this experience has been curated, the more that you allow yourself to move without resistance as a human in this body, which is where the ego tends to hold us where we are. We find ourselves in spaces where we know that maybe we've tried this before and it didn't necessarily work for us, so maybe we shouldn't try it again, but something inside of us is telling us, do it again, go for it. Because our experience has been curated. And sometimes that curated experience is about trying and trying again, because we're not trying in the process of remembering. We are practicing remembering as we experience what it is that we're doing. Let me know in the comments if that one clicked. It's gonna click eventually, but if it clicked right now at this point in the video, let me know in the comments, because just let me know. With that being said, the soul is doing the intentional work of contributing to the expansion of consciousness. And the soul is directly connected to the ego, because the ego is how the soul has curated this individual experience in order to expand consciousness, which then connects the ego to consciousness, because without that body, without that ego, without that duality experience, the soul would not be able to directly contribute to consciousness ever expanding experience. This interconnected whole that brings together all three of those aspects of self, or I am, the ego, the soul, consciousness, is a deeply embedded wholeness, oneness that remembers everything, that remembers all that has been, that is, that ever will be, and exists everywhere, all at once. And that is our innate divinity. The fact that we have that essence of the oneness that knows all, that exists everywhere, all at once, within us, is how we are divine beings. Which brings us to our next point of conversation: divinity and mundaneness. Our ability to be so simple in facts of life that we know to be waking up and experiencing, not having to know why the sun rises every day or why the moon rises every night, but being able to experience it. We exist amongst a symbiotic relationship that knows all too well that all it has to do in order to receive the gift of life is to breathe. Breathing is our mundaneness. And in this expansion, this ever expansion of consciousness, our breath, every single one that we take, is deeply valued. So we have a reflection question that I was asked in the process of coming up with this first show's conversation. And that question is, what does it mean to you to be human? And I wrote down an answer. That answer is what it is because of the experience that I have had, and because of the things that I know, the things that I've seen, and the things that I continue to remember as I grow, as I learn my soul. in relation to consciousness. My purpose, why my soul created this human body, why my soul created this human experience for me. As I learn these things, I recognize that being a human to me right now means to practice remembering. Practice remembering our truth, since human experience is considered a temporary opportunity for our spiritual self to learn, feel, connect, and evolve. And at the same time, express our purpose, our DNA, or we could call it our deep navigational awareness, or our spiritual essence, which is considered our core identity. I feel like our truth as beings is our love, is the love that we feel that can create a multitude of reactions, but essentially is love, like when they say God is love, as well as our purpose and our core identity as a creator. That makes up our truth, which brings me to our wrap up. Dang, aren't huge. Okay. Which brings me to our wrap up. Or how love and creativity is a core element of being human, and how both of those things are uniquely and directly and deeply tied into how we exist as an ego, as a soul, and as consciousness. Love, aka God, the universe, the essence, and creativity, which also could be considered God, the universe, the essence of all, is our wholeness. And it is weaved into all aspects of existence as a whole. I think about how our wholeness ties all of us together, but it also ties our individual universes together as well. Our mind, our body, our soul, or our soul, our body, our consciousness, our soul, ego, consciousness. That is our individual universe. Community is our collective universe. The ever-expanding idea of consciousness is the universe. And those are all microcosms of one another. Soul's love of consciousness to create an individual experience for the sake of expansion, evolving, and growth. Ego's love of the experience that is created by soul to keep going, even in an illusion of forgetting, and co-create with this experience to where we're able to have art and technology and be inspired by one another all of which contributes to consciousness. And then, of course, we have consciousness's love of all, to continue to provide breath, to continue to provide breath to life, to all of life, despite what our ego, our physical body, considers devastations, in order to continue to expand, to evolve, to grow. Once again, I am Cosmic Affinity. This is Certified Yapper, a cosmic channel. I am here to create safe spaces. I effectively put medicine into all of the words that I use, whether that be through speaking or song. I am intentional about delivering messages that nurtures wounds, embraces the heart, and encourages the freedom to expand. Because we all deserve to be liberated from limits.